The ultra. Oh, look at picking onions.
Good evening and welcome everyone. This is the 2021 Entrepreneur Hall of Fame celebration. I'm Garrett Weinzerl and I'm going to be your Master of Ceremonies. Now there's some information before we get started. Just so you know, this reception will be recorded. Please make sure your microphone is muted for the duration of the session. Also, if you would like to format your screen, as there's quite a few of us here, got a bit of a Hollywood Squares thing going on, you can switch to speaker view up in the right-hand corner of your Zoom window. Now, after our speakers, we will open the reception for comments from attendees. Please raise your hand or let us know in Zoom chat if you would like to speak, and we will admit you so you can share your comments. Kristen will be helping us with that. All right. NMSU's Arrowhead Center and Office of the Vice President for Research are pleased to announce the 2021 NMSU Entrepreneur Hall of Fame. This award recognizes outstanding achievements in entrepreneurship among alumni representing colleges and disciplines across the NMSU system. The Entrepreneur Hall of Fame honors graduates who have launched successful businesses and introduced innovative entrepreneurial concepts and practices in workplaces, those who have contributed to the entrepreneurial climate of their regions. This event celebrates those achievements and those contributions. Now, the first person I am delighted to introduce is Kathy Hansen. Kathy is the director of the Arrowhead Center. Kathy?
Yes, thank you, Garrett, and good evening to all, and welcome to this event. Thank you for joining us. It's my honor as the director of Arrowhead to kick off this event to celebrate an outstanding alum, Richard Leza, who has made great contributions to entrepreneurship with a remarkable personal journey and a strong commitment to creating opportunities for Hispanics. We received excellent nominations for our Hall of Fame Award this year, with our external advisory council making the selection. We created the Entrepreneur Hall of Fame to recognize our alums who succeed as entrepreneurs and demonstrate an entrepreneurial spirit by starting companies, creating jobs, bringing innovation to the market and workplace, and creating opportunities for aspiring entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs also exemplify unique traits, attitudes, skills that inspire people around them, modeling creativity, resiliency, and an intrepid spirit. Richard has these traits in abundance. Richard's journey is amazing and awe-inspiring. From Hatch Valley, in a family of 10 children, he found his way to NMSU and the College of Engineering, and we're really, really glad that he did. He traveled a difficult path from serious illness to recovery as a young adult, and he's dedicated himself to making sure that other Hispanics have access to capital and other resources that he did not have. You'll hear a lot about his accomplishments from our speakers tonight. His degrees from NMSU and Stanford, his role as a successful entrepreneur in Silicon Valley, his membership on many boards. Richard sees challenging situations and asks, how can I help? He views problems as opportunities. He's focused on solutions, and he has a spirit of optimism and adventure. Richard, we are so honored to bring light to your accomplishments. And now back to Garrett.
Thank you, Kathy. And now we would like to invite Chancellor Arvizu to make a few remarks.
Thank you, Garrett, and good evening, everyone. And Richard, just want to say personally, we are so proud of you. And in fact, it's my great honor to be one of many that will congratulate you on becoming the Entrepreneur Hall of Fame inductee for 2021. And really, this is an opportunity for us to celebrate along with you all of your wonderful accomplishments and this great support that you had for New Mexico State University. You all probably know that last year we honored Richard in different ways at our Distinguished Alum event, and recognized at that point all of the wonderful things that Richard has done as both a successful entrepreneur and a philanthropist in our community. I know we'll be repeating a lot of the same things that we saw both in the opening slideshow that we saw, and that each of us will focus on perhaps a bit different things that Richard has accomplished. But it's noteworthy that Richard was born in the region. He was born in Laredo and raised, as we all know now, in the Hatch Valley, in a poor Hispanic community. And he and his 3 sisters and 6 brothers were raised by a single mom. In his teens, Richard worked in the fields picking chili, cotton, and onions. And where he struggled through much of his life, Richard was really the only member of his family at that time to finish college. You know, Richard, you gave me your book, and I got a chance to read it. This book of your memoirs, Beating the Odds, and I loved your tagline, the word no makes this Hispanic work harder. And I was so inspired by so many of the stories that you told from a young early childhood all the way through your very fabulous career. And I found them the stories to be both informative, constructive, profound, comical in many ways, heartwarming, but above all, inspirational. And we just celebrate with you today because of the accomplishments, but the journey that you have traveled is something that we can all take a page from. Just the fact that you were challenged from when you were 4 years old and they ran into the picket fence. Your neighbor ran into the picket fence and you're already on his case for getting the money. I love that part. In addition to so many other stories of wonderful, I think, anecdotes of your childhood and your upbringing, and just the way you approached problem solving. I love that part of it. And anyway, for those of you that have not had a chance to read that book, I would highly recommend it. It's great bedside reading if you want to be inspired by so many of the travels and the wonderful stories that Richard has to share. Richard, as you know, many of us know, he has a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from New Mexico State University and a master's degree from my other alma mater, the Graduate School of Business at Stanford. And of course, noteworthy also is a doctorate of laws, honorary doctorate from New Mexico State University. I think it's appropriate. I think you were a negotiator from day one, Richard. So proud of you in that respect as well. While based in Silicon Valley, Richard was the founder and chairperson and chief executive of RMC Group, AI Research Corporation, and he's had more than 40 years of experience in finance, manufacturing, engineering, medical devices, application software. Retired from XR Corporation after serving 10 years as their chair and 3 times as their interim CEO. He's been obviously a distinguished alum in our College of Engineering and is a recipient of the 2021 James Cole Award for service that we gave last year. And he has served on a number of department and college advisory boards in the College of Engineering, and I know he has a passion for students. When we had a chance to visit when he was in Las Cruces, it was very clear that he and Cindy just feel so grateful for what they've been able to get from NMSU, and they've been very, very prominent in giving back and supporting all of our students, and that to me is not just inspirational, but something that I think can be a great exemplar and role model for many of us that have had journeys where we've gotten so much out of the institution. But then at the same time, recognized how important it was to give back. And he's been one of those that has done that in an exemplary way. So we're really pleased that Richard spends his days these days and his valuable experience and mentorship in helping, I think, entrepreneurs at Arrowhead Center. So we love it that he continues to be engaged with our university. And so we thank you, Richard, for your commitment to the university and the community, and your generous support, really, for supporting underserved students so that they can achieve some of the great outcomes that you've been able to achieve in your life. So with that, I just want to say congratulations, Richard. We're so proud of you, and you continue to be inspirational to all of us. And we will expect that wonderful thing will happen through the people that you mentor going forward. So again, congratulations to being the Entrepreneur Hall of Fame inductee for 2021. Garrett, back to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chancellor. And next, we'll hear from President Flores to share his remarks.
Thank you, Garrett. And thank you to all of you for being part of this celebration today. I too want to congratulate Richard on a life well lived, and to recognize him today for being inducted into the Entrepreneur Hall of Fame at New Mexico State University for this year, 2021. Again, we're very, very happy and very thankful for what you have done, Richard. I don't want to repeat much of what has been said. What I want to do rather is just take a slightly different slant and talk a little bit about you and your life and your experiences and how they relate to our students. You exemplify many of our students. If I look at our student population today, what I see is a lot of them come from farming communities just like you did. A lot of them work in the fields before they come to NMSU, and sometimes during their studies here when they have free time. Many of them come from large families, just like you did. Many of them come from single parent households. Many of them are the first and usually the only ones that goes to college. They have put a lot of work in many places, including agricultural work, as they go through school, try to put themselves through school. So a lot of experiences very similar to yours, and obviously many of them come from small communities, small farming agriculture communities from New Mexico and the surrounding region. So you relate to our students in so many ways, and you can really mentor our students in so many ways that many other people couldn't really relate. So I just want to remind everybody that you're a product of this institution, and so many of our students will be looking to you to help them find their way and to help them really show that they can succeed too, because you have been such a great success. If I move on to a slightly different slant now, many of the people that grow up in farming communities, the community around them, they have very low expectations of them. They think that most likely they will end up being farming workers or farmers or something similar to that. And this is not just the case here in New Mexico, it's the case everywhere. In your case, you managed to get out of that. In your case, the US government, as I understand, had a different plan for you. They called you to the draft, but you persevered. You had different plans. You went to East LA and to community college, and then you came to NMSU to get your civil engineering degree. And then you went back to California to do your graduate work at Stanford. And what's really magnificent, I think, is that you have managed to combine not just your education, not just your knowledge, but all your experience from a farming community all the way to education in Stanford and in between, to become a very successful businessman, to become a very, very successful individual, a productive individual that you have given back to your community, no matter where you are, very early on. The endowed scholarship that you started at NMSU, it was only 15 years after you graduated. That's extremely impressive and very, very commendable in my mind. So in '98, 15 years after you graduated, you had your first endowed scholarship to help back your community and the students in this university. So for that, we thank you. And the other thing that I wanted to point out is that, as the chancellor finished saying, you have helped a lot of entrepreneurs all throughout the country, but particularly right here in Las Cruces, in southern New Mexico, in NMSU. And again, for that, we thank you. We provide an exemplary mentor and an example for our students, our faculty, our staff, our young entrepreneurs to really look up to and to become successful themselves. So thank you so much for what you have done, and congratulations to your achievements, not just this award, but everything you have accomplished, particularly because as I look at NMSU, you also personify our line grant mission of education, of doing research, solving problems, and really serving your community. So thank you for everything and congratulations. Garrett, back to you.
Thank you, President Flores. Next, we will hear from Dr. Scott, Acting Provost and Vice President of Student Success.
Well, Richard and friends of NMSU, welcome. Richard, I'm going to take a little bit different tack than our first two folks, and I want to share a little bit of my thoughts through my own discipline. Amazingly enough, Thomas Jefferson, as part of our founding fathers, often talked about the importance of farmers and talking about the spirit of farmers and how America and the communities are strong because of the farming community and the entrepreneurial mindset of those farmers. So I'm not at all surprised that you, as being a member of the Hatch community and part of the farming community, are such an outstanding individual. Entrepreneurs and philanthropists have really shaped our communities throughout all of our history. You and others have contributed mightily to our society. You've met needs, you've solved problems, you provide jobs, you've fueled economic growth. We as historians often fail to tell those stories, and yet you all are the most important people of our communities. And Richard, you're a perfect example, and what a true role model and asset you are to New Mexico and the students at New Mexico State University. So thankfully tonight, we are recognizing you as an NMSU alum for your incredible accomplishments. You certainly have had a huge impact on the New Mexico community. Richard, I think I'm inspired most by how you've demonstrated courage, how you've taken a risk, and yet in taking that risk, you've been patient, because oftentimes that risk and reward doesn't happen overnight like many of us want to hope and believe. And so you've inspired me. You've been a role model to me, and I absolutely know that you're going to be an inspiration and inspire others. And so I really am honored tonight to be part of recognizing our third inductee into the Entrepreneurial Hall of Fame, Richard Leza. So thank you so much, Richard. It's my honor to meet you. And thank you so much for sharing yourself and what you've learned with us here at NMSU. Congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. And now the reason we are all here celebrating, Richard Leza, the floor is yours. I believe I think you're still muted, Richard.
There you go. Thank you very much. I'm overwhelmed from all the stuff that's been said. I want to thank everybody for joining us, especially the people that were responsible for this wonderful award. Second, I'd like to thank very much Dr. Hernandez and Dr. White for their advice in starting my career. And thirdly, I'd like to thank my wife, who has been there for 54 years for my ups and downs. You know, I really appreciate everything that was said, and I definitely have been a supporter of New Mexico State, and I will continue to be a supporter of New Mexico State because I still remember where I came from, and I will not forget that. I will make sure that as an entrepreneurial, I give back, and I intend to do this. You know, the thing that's important to me is risk. You know, I've never been afraid of taking risk. The term I use is calculated risk. What do I mean with calculated risk? It's very simple. Like when you're crossing the busy street, you take calculated risk by checking left and right before you cross. It's very important. You know, risk and companionship are the distinguished features of a real entrepreneurial, and he should never lose sight of reality or where he came from. So I always took my position, and I said to myself, well, I need to enjoy life, so I'm going to build the business of my dreams. So I looked at opportunities and felt that there was huge opportunities in some of the places, and decided to just try it out and go for it. You know, when a lot of people, or some of the people, you know, were telling me, naysayers, that I shouldn't do it. This was one of the things I wrote in my book, that, you know, as soon as they told me no, this Hispanic was just going to work harder. And if I failed on one idea, I start another one. If you're a real entrepreneurial, you just keep trying no matter what ups and downs you have. So thanks again for this award. Go Aggies, and enjoy the holidays. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for those words, Mr. Leza. It's really inspirational. And now we're going to open the reception up to those attendees who would like to say a few words. We have quite a few distinguished guests tonight, including our first ever inductee into the Entrepreneur Hall of Fame, Frank Seidel. Anyone who would like to speak, please raise your hand or leave us a message in Zoom chat, and we will admit you one at a time. I think to get us started, Dr. Kenneth White, retired NMSU civil engineering faculty, nominated Mr. Leza for this award. Dr. White, would you like to start us off?
I would be very pleased.
Thank
you. To do that. You know, I'd follow up a little bit with what President Flores said. You know, I was raised in a small cotton farming community on the farm. And I was the first of my family to go to college. And so I guess I have some empathy for a lot of the students from that point of view. One of my great pleasures in my senior years is following the careers of my former students. And if my computations are right, Richard, I think you came into my structural engineering class 50 years ago. And it didn't take me long to realize I had a young man that was very brilliant, very focused. He was dedicated and demonstrated that he was willing to take the journey and rose very quickly to the top of the class. But as has been pointed out by many others before me already, that he had many trials and tribulations in attaining his success. And as our chancellor noted, if you haven't read Richard's book, you know, you really missed out, because in reading that book, you just have to get a greater and greater appreciation for all the barriers that he had to overcome to achieve his success. And he's done it with such grace and dignity. And I'm so happy that he's such a role model for our students. I think especially for the minorities, that he shows that you can succeed despite all the naysayers. And so it's my pleasure, Richard, to congratulate you on this award, and we continue to follow at you. And I'm very pleased that I can count you and Cindy as my friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. White. Speaking next will be Dean Reddy, Dean of the College of Engineering. Dean Reddy, are you unmuted?
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're
Okay.
loud and clear. Thank you.
Richard, congratulations. We're very pleased and honored. And thank you, Cindy. One thing, a couple of other dimensions that I want to let the group know from our experiences was, how innovative of a thinker you are. I remember that one night when Cindy, you and I were having dinner at the Californian restaurant, and one thing led to the other. And in fact, I want to let the group know that Richard and Cindy were the first ones to conceive the concept of retention scholarships. So we have that retention scholarship primarily to help students in the college who are at the risk of dropping out for a number of reasons. And so we termed that phrase, actually, we discussed quite a bit about that phrase, retention scholarship. And that's the first thing. And then, of course, several people followed that after Richard and Cindy. We're truly glad and honored to have a partner like you, Richard, for the College of Engineering, because you are truly an inspiration. Richard does talk to our class of leadership, Seidel Leadership Institute class, and he interacts with the students. He has been once every semester. And I just want to read three lines on the back cover of his book. I too am fortunate to have read his book because as somebody whose upbringing was very similar to Richard's, I could resonate to many sections in that book. So I remember reading the same three sentences to the leadership class only about 2 weeks back after reading the book. And I was going to give them copies of this book because it's really a personal story to success. And the context in which I was giving this book as an example was to indicate how sometimes conflict and competition are very necessary for us to succeed. So at the risk of sounding like a commercial for the book, which we have already done, I think 3 of us did it here. Here is those lines, and I really like several sections of this book, but you will learn in this book of conflict and competition with rivals that pushed Mr. Leza to quit his job in order to earn a Stanford University MBA degree. That decision led him to the new world of entrepreneurship in the Silicon Valley and eventually prepared him to start his own venture capital firm. And then, of course, I use some examples from the book, which we don't need to do right now, but you have been a tremendous source of inspiration, Richard and Cindy. Thank you so much. Thank you for being part of the College of Engineering. And thank you for being so innovative to help our students succeed and follow your path. Congratulations again. Back to you.
Thank you, Dean Reddy. We'll now continue recognizing any of those who have posted in chat or who have raised their hand and would like to make remarks. Anthony Martinez, I believe you wanted to make some remarks. We can get Anthony unmuted.
Yes, my name is Anthony Urabazo Martinez, and I'm very proud to be sharing this moment with Richard and all of his friends and colleagues. I travel a different, kind of a related story, because I grew up alongside Richard in a way. While he was picking cotton down in New Mexico, I was picking cotton in Casa Grande here near Tucson. And we had a similar upbringing. I've known Richard for about 20 years. I'm a retired professor from San Francisco State in business. I also have advanced degrees, Berkeley Law, and I continue to serve actually people in New Mexico as we speak. I spent a lot of time with the Navajo tribe on the New Mexico and the Arizona side. But Richard, we connected when he was with Hispanic Net. I was part of his advisory or Hispanic Net advisory committee. So I got to know Richard and all the work he was doing and all the people he was influencing in Silicon Valley. And I had him as a guest speaker at a colloquium that I held at USF. He was well received. His impact is tremendous. I can relate to Richard's experience, we're from the same generation. And we didn't realize there were many of us actually in those years. So we travel a lonely journey along the way, and I can relate to Richard's book and everything he talks about. It's a beautiful story. It's awesome. And so I just want to say thank you, Richard, for all you have done. It's been a pleasure being your friend for years. I think we have a lot of work to get done moving down the road. So thank you, Richard, and all of your friends who are here sharing this with you. It's a real privilege to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
We have time for more remarks. I'm scrolling. There's a lot of names in here, so I'm doing my best to keep an eye out for hands up. If anyone else would like to make any remarks, please let us know.
David, how about you go?
Good evening, everybody. I'm David Howdige. I'm the current Department of Civil Engineering department head. I'd like to first start off by congratulating Mr. Leza for this well-deserved recognition in the Entrepreneur Hall of Fame. I've been blessed to play a small part in the nomination along with Dr. White. And on behalf of the department, I am truly grateful for being in this position during which Mr. Leza is being honored. So as the comments have been made, there's and reading through the accomplishments of Mr. Leza, a couple of things come to mind that really struck a chord with me. The first thing is that I grew up in a small community. I grew up in the Hurley, New Mexico, in the mining district, and I know the importance of role models. Richard mentions Dr. Hernandez and Dr. White, and on behalf of all those people that you've influenced, Richard, the role that you've played in their success is truly remarkable. As a Hispanic, we need individuals such as yourself to pave the roadway for us coming forward. You know, going back to my high school days and my middle school days, elementary days, I remember my teachers with names such as Miss Zapata, Mr. Maldonado, Dr. Ricardo Jaques, and that influence really makes a difference for us. And so for that, I truly thank you for following in those same footsteps. The other thing I wanted to mention, I was looking through the accomplishments, and one thing that really rang a bell for me is it says here your 40 years of experience in finance, manufacturing, engineering, medical devices, and application software. I feel that this really captures the essence of the pioneer that you are, because I was just looking at some of the professor positions that we're announcing, and those words are in our announcements, looking at advanced manufacturing, artificial intelligence, which kind of comes into the software aspect, medical devices, where a lot of our new engineers coming in are tied into the medical fields. And so you're truly an epitome. You know, 40 years ago when you started this, you were basically putting the guidebook for where we're going in the future. And I find that to be very, very inspiring. The other thing I wanted to just close with is, as I mentioned to you, much like all of us, we've had role models in our lives. And one individual that truly inspired me was my father-in-law. He taught here at New Mexico State University in the Language and Linguistics Department. His name was Dr. Ricardo Aguilar. And aside from inspiring me to going on for further education, he also introduced me to a lot of music. And there's one song that I remember that really struck, really, when I heard it this evening prior to this event, it really reminded me of you. And at the beginning of the song, it's called Sueño con Serpientes, which is basically I dream with serpents. There's a poem at the very beginning, and it's, I'm gonna shorten. I'm gonna just say a few words from that really reminded me of you, and it goes as follows. It said, hay hombres que luchan un día y son buenos. Hay hombres que luchan un año y son mejores. Hay hombres que luchan muchos años y son muy buenos. Pero hay los que luchan toda la vida y esos son los imprescindibles. And let me translate that. That means there are men that struggle for one day and they are good. There are those that struggle for a year and they are better. There are those that struggle many years and they are very good. But there are those who struggle their whole lives and fight for people for their whole lives, and those are the worthy ones. And I certainly feel that you fall in that category. And it reminded me of you. And with that, congratulations. It's a pleasure to be in the department that you've created a legacy for. And I wish you nothing but the best. And I look forward to working further with you as department head. Congratulations.
Thank you, David. Cindy Leza, I see you waving. Would you like to share any comments or stories? Can we get Cindy unmuted?
That work? Does that work now?
Perfect.
Okay. I'm overwhelmed just listening to this. We started out pretty poor, like a lot of people did. And Richard, just got sick, and then he went to New Mexico State, and we did really well. and he went on to a job engineering, and I was so happy because I wasn't working and just having a good time. And then he came home from work one day and said he was quitting and he was going to go to college, graduate school. I'm glad he did. Very glad he did. I did good. Thank you, Richard. That's it.
Thank you for sharing. I believe Patricia Knighton, I think I saw you raise a hand in Zoom earlier.
Hi, Richard. My name is Patricia Knighton. I'm with Arrowhead Center's Office of Intellectual Property. We've not had the pleasure of meeting, and what a delight to make your acquaintance and learn about you this evening. And I'm really pleased to have the opportunity to say congratulations. Thank you very much for being an inspiration as a Hispanic, a New Mexican, and American. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, keeping my eye on the side here. If anyone has any comments or stories they would like to share, just let us know or raise your hand.
Frank, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and
Here
clear.
I am. So I've been out in the field all day, Richard, so I apologize for my attire. But I wanted to congratulate you on your honor, and having had the honor myself. It's a wonderful opportunity to continue to what's the word I'm looking for? Lead these students down the path that they need, where they see that hard work. It's not just intelligence, but it's hard work that you got to have to make a success out of yourself. So I do miss the getting to see the students, and I hope this pandemic will be over and we are starting to see each other in person again, which is wonderful. And I can't wait to get down there and see the students again. But I just wanted to congratulate you. I can't wait to read your book and be further inspired by people like you. So I just wanted to say hello and wanted to say congratulations and Merry Christmas to you all.
Thanks, Frank.
I believe I saw some hands waving from another Richard and Stella. Should be able to unmute. There you go.
Are we on?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Hi, I'm Richard's little sister. I have lots of stories, but I won't say any of them because I don't want to embarrass him. But I've been sitting here listening to all you people, and I just want to hold back all the tears because I am so amazed at everything he's done, him and Cindy, and they are still doing. I don't really remember much, but I do remember when we used to go visit them in New Mexico when he was going to college there, because I was kind of young. I'm like the 9th one on the bottom, But I remember they were always struggling. And to hear all of you talk about all his accomplishments, it's like amazing. Like, I don't know where I came from because of everything he's done. And I just think that him and Cindy are like so famous, because of everything they've done. And I'm so proud of him and I admire them so much. And congratulations, and I'm gonna cry, so I gotta go. And I love you guys and all you people that admire them. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas, and I love you.
Thanks, Stella.
And Linda couldn't get on. That's why we were trying to help her. So sorry. Okay, bye.
That's great. We still have time. I'm keeping an eye out for any more hands waving. Anthony Martinez, I think you can unmute yourself still. If not, okay.
Yes. Okay. So Richard's impact in Silicon Valley and beyond, not just in the Latino community. In the Latino community, of course, with Hispanic Net, there are literally tens of thousands Latino Hispanic entrepreneurs out there that were impacted and influenced by that organization when Richard was the founder, co-founder of that group. So Richard's impact cannot be measured really in many various, I mean, basically in very large numbers right now. I mean, I'm familiar with the culture of entrepreneurship that has grown in Silicon Valley among the Latino community, not just Silicon Valley, but way, way beyond, around the world, the people that he's impacted, influenced, non-Hispanics as well. So his impact has already been measured, has already been noticed around the world just because of who he is, the dream and vision he had with that organization and beyond. I mean, it's really incredible to see. I mean, even here in Arizona, the reason I'm here in Arizona now is to bring the Silicon Valley culture that Richard was so instrumental in building and also at Stanford University with that Hispanic Entrepreneurship Center. So I brought that with me when I came here 6 years ago, trying to impact and influence the same culture with the Native American communities, including Navajo and Tohono O'odham and the Pueblos in New Mexico. So Richard's reach has been pretty incredible. And it's really something to be very proud of. So just wanted to add that I have seen it and I lived through it, and I'm part of the friends of Richard that have really extended that mentality of entrepreneurship in the economic world here in not only in Silicon Valley, but in other states as well. So Silicon Valley's coming west or coming east towards Arizona and New Mexico, you name it. It's going to grow. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Thanks for sharing. I see a hand raised. Kenny Stevens, are you able to unmute?
Yes, hi. I've also been out in the field. We just got done with a bunch of truck headlights trying to finish harvesting pecans today. So that's why I didn't have my face up. But I just wanted to congratulate Mr. Leza also. And he was very kind when his, can I call it, autobiography came out, Beating the Odds. I would recommend everybody read that book. It has lots of amazing stories. If you want to know all sorts of good chisme about Richard and Cindy, you can read that book. Richard also was a big supporter, is a big supporter of a group I'm involved with, Aggies Without Limits. And when the book came out, he sent four coupons, if you will, to be able to get the book on Amazon. And so the group got the 4 books, and the books make the rounds amongst all the students. And I have gotten more comments about the story when you were at the dance in TRC and all the crazy things happened and you were driving the car with without a license. I guess I'm not supposed to say that, but more students have come up to me and said, can you believe Mr. Leza? He did that. So I know that's probably not the story that you want the young people of today to learn about, but that definitely got them reading the rest of the book. So thank you for the book. Thank you for all you do for the students at NMSU, and congratulations.
Thanks, Steve.
That's great. I want to hear more about that story. Well, keeping an eye out for any hands raised. If anyone has any comments or stories they want to share, hopefully of a legal nature.
Look forward to reading the book and reading the story. I guess that's the best way to get the story.
That sounds like it. Well, Richard Leza, do you have any final thoughts? We've heard some just incredible stories. I think it'd be hard pressed to sit here tonight and not feel inspired.
Well, I'd just like to say that, you know, entrepreneurial with engineering background is the way to go. It's too bad that not a lot of young students take that route, but I think it's the most appropriate of all, because the engineering background really gives you the kind of fundamental skills that you need, and then the business background really makes the cream on top. So I would encourage every young student to think about taking that route. First engineering, then business school, and then becoming an entrepreneurial. That's about it. But thank you everybody for your comments, and it's been very nice. And I really appreciate this award. I think it's wonderful. So like I said before, go Aggies. I'll continue to support New Mexico State University.
It's hard on mute. It's hard on Zoom. Applause doesn't translate as well. Well, Richard Leza, thank you so much again. And thank you everyone who came out tonight and shared your stories and your comments. It's a virtual event. I mean, it's just been amazing. So again, on behalf of Arrowhead Center and the Office of the Vice President for Research, we just want to thank all of you who've come together this evening to honor Richard Leza. We know that his contributions to the NMSU community and to those who are privileged to work with him and to know him, that's going to continue for many years to come. So thank you all again very much. Stay well and stay safe. Good night, everyone.